All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is that time once again. What is up, everybody? This is your boy Bernie here on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And guys, I hope you are enjoying your Monday afternoon, Monday evening if you guys are on the East Coast. But today, I did talk about that we are going to talk about the Lonzo Ball situation. It is, I would say, as a Lonzo Ball fan, and you can call me an apologist or whatever you want to call me, I really think that he needs to be in a better situation for him to succeed and to actually be part of an organization and system that actually wants to use him for the way that he is. I feel like Stan Van Gundy is really cheating Lonzo Ball with the way that he's being used on the court. It seems that he's being used as more as an off-ball guard, which you can tell when Lonzo is playing out there that he doesn't look like the same Lonzo Ball that we saw at UCLA, not even the same Lonzo Ball we saw in LA. And we know that Lonzo Ball struggled in LA, but I felt like Alvin Gentry finally got through to him in the season before the pandemic. He was playing so well, and now we're seeing Lonzo Ball struggle once again. And now there's rumors of him moving to Chicago. The Knicks are now looking at that situation. To be honest with you, it is a messy situation as it pertains to Lonzo. LaMelo, on the other hand, is doing fantastic. So I'm glad that, I know he's coming off the bench, and I know his dad doesn't like that. I know that probably LaMelo doesn't like that. But I think for the role that they're in right now, it is I would say perfectly okay. Work into it, but for sure, LaMelo is going to be a starter from here on out at some point when everything happens. But with that being said, hopefully you guys, like I said, are enjoying your Monday. If you guys are new to the channel, if you're watching this on a replay, please remember to hit that like button and also remember to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel to make sure that you don't miss our NBA content here Monday through Friday. Time subject to change. Of course, there might be some more changes depending on my practice, because it looks like practices might get moved from, I think, maybe like 6:30 to 9. So we might be able to stream here right after school and may be able to have a consistent schedule. But that is still subject to change. But I keep saying but a lot. We are going to start off with something that I really want to talk about, and something that I really want to kind of show people. I kind of want to show you how I break down games, and like defensively is kind of where I like to kind of have my bread and butter, because I think you can sell defensively is what they're trying to do and other things like that. There's going to be a lot of things to talk about, but let's talk about this really quick. We're going to move on to the live scene and talk not only about what's going on, but about how the Nets are looking for a huge trade. Now, the first trade we're going to be looking at, of course, for the Nets is that the Nets are interested in JaVale McGee. The Nets have been interested in trading for JaVale McGee. The LA Lakers traded JaVale McGee to Cleveland this past offseason, and Brooklyn has 2 roster spots left open. A previous report suggested the Nets could also have interest in Kevin Love, but that'd be virtually impossible due to Brooklyn's inability to match the salary in a trade. And you know what? I think Kevin Love is probably going to ask for a release at some point. I think this young team is doing much better without him. Like, as much as I love Kevin Love, and I think he would, I don't know if he would add anything to the Brooklyn Nets, because I think the Nets right now defensively is where their problems are, and Kevin Love defensively is not the answer or the solution to the problem. And so as we kind of continue to proceed to give you what you need in this news segment, JaVale McGee would actually be a very cheap alternative to get in there, because we know that right now the Cleveland Cavaliers are so center heavy, it's ridiculous. I even made a joke about it on my Twitter account. If you guys aren't following, it's at the Charge Stream, and if we go back to the starting soon, you guys can kind of see that. At the Charge Stream right down here. That's kind of where you guys can find my Twitter account and kind of how I talked about it. But as we kind of continue talking about it over here, the thing that really I would say is frustrating for me is that, the Cleveland Cavaliers have so much, I would say, room for growth, room for improvement. And I just think that they really should be offloading some of these guys. I think Andre Drummond should be another guy that they offload, and you guys should just keep, and they should just keep Jared Allen. Whoever's a Cavs fan in the chat, or whoever's out there that's a Cavs fan, I think that's the way that you do it. But at the end of the day, we'll see what happens with this situation. Like I said, I think it is a fun one. It's an interesting one as we kind of continue to look to see at how everything is done. But if you give me just 1 second, I just want to make sure that we are live on YouTube, because I only see one of us. Yep, I think we are how live. Everything is done. We are live, so I just want to make sure. Looks like we are good there. But yeah, I mean, this would actually be, I think, a tremendous help, because we are going to look at some film really quick of basically a couple situations of a pick and roll with Timothy Luwalu, James Harden, DeAndre Jordan, and how even with DeAndre Jordan, I know that people like to reminisce about 2012 DeAndre Jordan and what he's able to do in Lob City. We have to really look at the film, and I'm going to show you guys the film just now. So this to me is probably, I'm not sure if this is the one that I want to start off with first, because this to me is going to be one. Let me just move it down here a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. Whoops, not what I wanted. Make it a little bit bigger. There we go. All right. So this is the one I want to look at, and we'll probably watch it on mute, and we'll kind of continue to watch here. So to me, this situation, this is not necessarily like the one that I want to look at for pick and rolls, but this is a perfect scenario of how the Brooklyn Nets defense is acting right now. And I understand that it's the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're the worst ranked defense, but we do need to pay attention to this film, because there is some things that you guys can learn from this as it pertains to watching the court. So here you see basically a basic kick out to Taurean Prince, and Taurean Prince is going to start his drive and attack. So first of all, we see here that James Harden falls for the fake, and this is what I'll tell kids, and this is what I'll tell anybody who's a basketball player, if you're not a shot blocker, if you're someone that's not willing to go, or not willing, but if you're not a shot blocker, if you're not one of those guys that gets like at least a block a game, then this to me is one that you don't do. Like, I can understand if Zion Williamson did it. I can understand if many of these other basketball players have done it. But this, to me, is where I find it really frustrating because, look, we know that James Harden defensively is not going to be the end-all, be-all. He's not the, I would say, supreme stuff type of guy, right? He's just like, he's decent to average at best when it comes to defense. And this, to me, right here is what we're going to look at right here. Look at this. We see here, Taurean Prince gets James Harden, and now James Harden's out of the play. This is what I teach kids as well, and this is what I used, before I became just an assistant. When I was like a head coach, for C team, youth kids, I would always teach them like this, and maybe this is a different scenario, but the reason why I teach not to jump is because look at where James Harden's at after he jumps. He's literally out of the play, and right now you can see here that it is 4-on-3 in the paint, right? We see here that now one of these guys has to step in and cover Taurean Prince as he drives to the basket, which then allows a little collapse in, and you're going to see that Colin Sexton is going to get a look here. And this is even worse. Look at this. We see here, again, and look at where James Harden, right? He jumped from about, I would say, if we looked here, he probably jumped from about right here and found himself almost level with Colin Sexton out of the play. Like, that to me is unacceptable from James Harden. He has to bust his butt off to get back into the play defensively so they can help out. Because look at this. As soon as Taurean Prince pump fakes, you get another guy up in the air, which is like, I don't know how many times these guys are going to fall for the pump fake. But this is frustrating to me as a coach because, look, you've now given yourself an opportunity to where if you just hit a bounce pass to Larry Nance Jr., he can go and easily dunk that. Or if you want to, since this guy, number one, I can't remember his name, and let me look this up before. I feel like an a-hole if I don't look up his name. Nets roster. Bruce Brown. Okay, Bruce Brown. So let's go back here. So Bruce Brown is now being sucked in into the defense to cover for Larry Nance Jr. because now Joe Harris has decided to jump off. And now we're seeing here that as soon as that happens, boom, kick out, wide open Colin Sexton. This, to me, this is an NBA player's dream. If an NBA player could get this much separation each and every time, then they would absolutely love it. They would absolutely, like, this to me is like just basically shooting at an open gym or shooting with the shooting machine, getting your shots up. That is what this type of separation does to a team. I mean, I know he misses the shot here because if we're going to watch again, but look, even if he misses the shot, that's still bad defense because even so, right, even if we decided, look, Taurean Prince pump fakes, gets him up, we see that Larry Nance is about to set a screen on Kyrie Irving, and if Colin Sexton decides, you know what, I'm too open and make the extra pass to Yeti, that's a 3-point shot opportunity as well. So again, jumping out of position. At the same time, James Harden has barely moved from that position. I understand that defense is not their thing, and if we look at their defensive ratings, this to me is going to shock you guys as soon as it loads up. So here we have, this is defensive ratings for each and every NBA team. We obviously know that the New York Knicks are number one in terms of points allowed. Meanwhile, you see here, probably at the bottom 4 is the Brooklyn Nets at 27. That to me is unacceptable. Like, I get that you're not going to be a great defensive team, but 27 is absolutely terrible. Now let's look at the other stats, and I wish that it was able to keep this like points allowed, rebounds allowed, and we can kind of show you what it really looks like. So the Brooklyn Nets in rebounds are 11th, which isn't too bad per se. Then as it pertains to offensive rebounds, 27th is absolutely god-awful. That is top 3 worst. And you can see by the game against the Brooklyn Nets, against the Cavaliers the day before, you could see that there was 50-29 if I'm not mistaken. So like as it pertains to that stuff, it is frustrating in my opinion. Let me just make sure to see if no one wants to join me on the charge. Let's see here. Okay, just making sure. Alrighty. All right, so we're back live now here. We got 4 of us in the chat. Appreciate each and every one of you. But as we kind of continue to proceed and look at all the other stats, 20th in assists allowed, that's kind of pertains to points. Steals are 28th. Defensive rebounding is 11th, not in the top 5. Meanwhile, you have kind of the Lakers in sort of that like basically top 10 in each and every category, which is absolutely insane to me that they are in that category. Really, because if you think about it, if you really do think about the situation for the Brooklyn Nets at this point, they basically can just make any basket. I mean, look, the Lakers are top 10 in rebounding offensively and defensively and just overall. And that is to me is unacceptable for these guys. Then we see in field goal allowed, like field goal percentage allowed, the highest field goal percentage given up by the team. The Brooklyn Nets are basically at the bottom. I can't even tell who the bottom team is, probably at the bottom. The Sacramento Kings are the worst. Then you have, of course, the Brooklyn Nets. Like, defensively, you could see that they are struggling, even with and without Kevin Durant and kind of the whole team now. And this was like, and I would say like this is just throughout the whole season without James Harden being added. So their offense has to be basically what this boils down to as you look at their other defensive ratings, right? You know, 29th in defensive rebounds allowed. 29th in field goals, 15th in 3-pointers, 4 in blocks just because you have DeAndre Jordan. Turnovers, 27th. That means they don't force that many. Opponent field goal percentage, looks like they do a pretty good job there. Opposing 3, 11. Defensive rebounding rating, 27. And if I can find the... I think that's it, right? So that's it in terms of ratings, right? And so as we look at it, like I said, this defense is just not going to cut it as it pertains to what the Brooklyn Nets need to do in order to get there. So if we go back again, guys, look at the open shot that he gets here. Like this to me just is unacceptable. Look at this. All that space just open up. And now let's move on to the next example, right? Now we got here, whoops, don't want to make it too big. Let's see here. So now we got the next one, right? So if you guys will notice, the Cavaliers, especially against this Brooklyn Nets team, like to run a double screen, but instead of Andre Drummond actually setting the screen, you're going to see Andre Drummond basically slip that screen. So for basketball terms, a slip, for my guys that aren't very basketball terminology-esque, basically instead of like he's going to act like he's going to go to set a screen, but then basically just cut to the basket as soon as he fakes going to set a screen. So we see here, boom, and then you're going to see him kind of cut down here. But look at James Harden in the position that he's in right now. James Harden in this position is not going to do a good enough job of basically helping out with Colin Sexton because, right, Colin Sexton is a great player who, if you give him a head of steam to kind of go around those screens and finish, or to, as you see here, give an alley-oop to Andre Drummond, this is going to spell trouble for anybody. So if we watch here, we're going to watch it basically one time through, slip. We see here now, Bruce Brown is directly behind. You see James Harden and DeAndre Jordan basically let this guy slip through. So you see Andre Drummond now is behind DeAndre Jordan, which is now going to allow for this alley-oop to happen because now DeAndre Jordan has to now step in. Excuse me, you're going to see DeAndre Jordan, he's going to step in, which then allows Andre Drummond to catch the lob. Although he doesn't finish with the dunk, he's still allowed to go back up with it and dunk. And so that to me, or layup, whatever you want to call it. But again, if we watch this again, and I'm going to watch it, we're going to watch it in kind of like I would say a slower motion, like maybe in 0.5 speed to kind of watch it, right? So again, we're going to see here that Larry Nance Jr. and Andre Drummond are going to set a screen. Again, Larry Nance is the only one that's setting a screen in this formation, in this play. And then you're going to see Andre Drummond slip. And you see here that James Harden, what he really should have done was, if you can get away with it, but it's really risky. You want to bump, basically, kind of get in the way. Not saying that you have to like physically push him, but kind of just like get in the way, so it makes it look like Andre Drummond has to fight through both of you. But literally, look at how easy this was for Andre Drummond just to kind of slip both of those guys. And then now you have James Harden faking it. Basically, what could have happened here is then now, and which probably what they wanted, is for Colin Sexton to head back to Larry Nance. And now you see here a lot of ball watching by James Harden, by Joe Harris, by Kyrie Irving, which then allows Andre Drummond to then attack the hoop. I mean, I know that Andre Drummond is shooting a lot better free throw percentage, but I honestly would have taken the foul. And let's move on to the next example, right? So next, we got the same situation. We got Larry Nance, and now we got Jared Allen, which Jared Allen is going to do the exact same thing. He's going to slip the screen. If you guys watching this segment, he's going to slip. Again, way too easy. This actually, this person does a really good job of actually bumping Jared Allen, so it kind of gets him off and thrown off position. But now, because of how the defensively Jeff Green should have been able to stop it. Like, here's the thing. Like, if you're trying to stop the lob, this team offensively is probably one of the worst offensive teams ever, the Cavaliers. And so if I was the Cavaliers, or if I was the Brooklyn Nets in this situation, honestly, I think this is too far up. I understand that you could potentially give up the guy rolling to the basket, but I think what I would do is I would make sure that this guy back here turns basically Darius Garland back the other way. Because if you set a double screen, you're going to get congested in this area, and then they're going to have to redo the play. And so, again, we watch here. Jeff Green should have done at least a good enough job. I understand that he's not going to try and fight. He's not going to try and be in front there so he doesn't get screened himself, and then you get Darius Garland to look. But again, we see that Darius Garland's going to get a look anyway, right? Look at this. Gets there, and now because I believe this is Perry, is now fighting with Jared Allen in this situation, right? He's fighting with Jared Allen here. Now you're going to see him have to kind of step in and guard Darius Garland, which then allows Jared Allen to get a nice alley-oop finish where he's going to come back down and finish with the dunk, right? So if you guys are watching this and you guys are looking at the situation at hand, you know, let me just make sure we're live. Alrighty, just want to make sure we're live. Let me go to YouTube Studio. Let's see here. Content. Just want to make sure we're live. All right, perfect. We are live. Let me just go to the control room and look to see where we're at viewer-wise. I know we don't got that many of us in here, but yeah, we kind of peaked and then we dropped a little bit. That's okay. Hopefully you guys will watch this back and you guys will kind of notice what I'm looking here as it pertains to what the Brooklyn Nets need to do better on defense, right? So again, whether I am Jeff Green in this situation or I believe it's Perry in the back that's guarding Jared Allen here, I understand that you're trying to set the guy to go back the other way, but look at this. Like, the fact that you give Darius Garland a head of steam because Luwalu's getting screened. Like, the low man wins in this situation. You're seeing here that because Darius Garland stays low and gets him off his back, right? You're seeing here that Darius Garland is now going to try and finish here, and now you're seeing that this guy now has to react, and now you're seeing here that it's a quick, easy dump off to Jared Allen, who, again, young, athletic, is going to finish easily, and you see here Jeff Green tries to come in with a little tap in, and that just is not going to work. And then let's move on to the next play. Again, you're going to see, I believe, let me see, make sure this isn't the same situation at hand. Okay, yeah, that's the same play. So let's look at a different one. So again, we're going to look at here. This to me is more so ball watching, and this is kind of what I'm going to look at. You basically see here that you're watching everybody basically ball watch at this point, right? You know, you see Kyrie Irving, you see James Harden. Look, I understand that. Look, we see here that now we see James Harden is doing probably what a lot of high school kids and what a lot of college kids are doing, especially as it pertains to a big man, is that you're going to dig. And if you guys don't know what digging is, it's like when you go and step off your man for a little bit to kind of swipe at the ball. So it allows the big man to maybe make a mistake, maybe get a turnover, and then you're allowed to do different things. And so see here, again, goes for a swipe. But then we see here that Andre Drummond gathers himself up again. Defense wasn't good enough, and now he gets a shot off. And this, to me, is unacceptable. I understand that DeAndre Jordan, you know, is basically the one that's hands up and everything like that, and basically taking the blunt of the force. But you can't allow this offensive rebound to happen. You have two guys right here in James Harden and Kyrie Irving. I understand that James Harden is digging at this point, but he's got to be in there to box out. And I understand it's NBA players are not really, they're not really going to do it, unfortunately, which sucks because I know that if they did do that, they would definitely like win the hearts of every head coach in the world, right? But look at this. Doesn't try to go and box out. You see Kyrie Irving kind of just chilling under there. basically waiting for the ball to come down. I'm not saying you got to go up and grab it at its high point for Kyrie Irving, but you at least got to help box out a little bit and try and get there. Tries to swipe down, and that's an easy finish for Andre Drummond again, who was tall enough to kind of finish and do his thing. Now we look at another situation as it pertains to basically a screen and then a rescreen. So again, going to screen there. Or sorry, there's no rescreen. I guess that might be the next. Oh, maybe I didn't save that clip. But then again, look at this. This to me is just, I just don't understand the defense perspective from the Nets standpoint, because look how far off DeAndre Jordan is as in comparison to where Colin Sexton is. Like, look, I will gladly have Andre Drummond beat me in a game than a guy like Colin Sexton, who we know can get hot, right? We see here that that's a screen, a good screen, and basically now look how much separation there is between DeAndre Jordan and Colin Sexton, who is now going to hit that jumper, even though Bruce Brown is trailing behind the plate. That's just an easy shot. It's an easy shot, and it just allowed for a good finish. Let me make sure. I think this might have a double play in it. Oh, this is the one that I was looking for. Okay, perfect. So again, we're going off a double screen, and now they're kind of privy to, what Colin Sexton has been doing, what Darius Garland has been doing multiple times. We see here that now they're holding up Jared Allen, but this is just a great finish. And this all, again, stems from nobody really stopping Darius Garland from getting to the acceleration point. Basically, he's already turned the corner. He's going to go attack the basket. And I understand here they do a great job of finally holding off Jared Allen, which is what they should have been doing probably since the beginning of the game, and they just didn't do it. And so we see here that this is just a tough take by Darius Garland. If he wanted to, obviously, Larry Nance Jr. has to get in sight with the ball, so he's able to get the three-point shot. But again, this is a great finish by Darius Garland. That's a great finish. And so, to be honest with you guys, like that to me, we go back to the Nets defensive ratings and looking at their stats again, that to me is the reason why I don't think that they're going to be a championship winning team. I understand that you can clean all that stuff up, but when you have Amari Stoudemire, D'Antoni, and Steve Nash as part of like your head coaching staff and your coaches, like I just don't think and necessarily believe that the Nets are going to be able to fix those defensive errors, because they're not going to focus on it. I don't think D'Antoni's going to work on focusing on that stuff. I don't think I'm going to see a guy like Amari Stoudemire working on that. I don't think Amari Stoudemire is going to bring that up. I mean, I wish that there was a defensive coordinator there, or someone that's defensive minded, to just kind of let them know, like, this to me is unacceptable. And so if we look at, let's see here. Let's look at the stats. I don't know if they have all the stats here. We can kind of watch a recap here and see what they decided what they can do down here, right? So we're gonna watch the video.
Game to rest his Achilles. The Nets taking on the Miami Heat, and we get started in the second. James Harden, playing provider, finds Joe Harris for the three-pointer. Then it's Kyrie Irving to Kevin Durant. That looks like a good Achilles to me, right to the rack and laying it in. And Brooklyn's up by 14. Later in the second, Kyrie Irving with the missed layup. But they've got DeAndre Jordan throwing it down.
See if they have any Heat highlights. Come on now.
Front. Kelly Olynyk finds Bam Adebayo for the buzzer beater three.
I mean, even to tell you guys, like, Bam Adebayo in that game had 45 points, or I believe 45 points. So that kind of goes to show you that they are, like, especially interior-wise, and this is the reason why I want the Celtics to trade for Sabonis, because I think if we were able to honestly get a ball stopping, or even just an offensive scoring big man down below to stop a guy like DeAndre Jordan, to kind of basically neutralize their attacking lineup of Kyrie Irving, James Harden, because we know defensively they're going to be a liability. I mean, they won 128 to 124. I understand we're in a new NBA, but still to this day, I believe that if you can hold your team basically into the hundreds, whatever the hundreds is, I think that's probably more likely what it's going to be like. Oh, he had 41 points, excuse me. But at the same time, like I said, what's frustrating for me and what's frustrating to watch as it pertains to the Brooklyn Nets at this point is the fact that I think that they need to do a better job. They need to do a better job of basically learning, like, look, teams are going to attack that pick and roll each and every time, especially as it pertains to James Harden and DeAndre Jordan, because look, DeAndre Jordan may be a great I would say, screen setter, a great lob city finisher, and a great, like, basically offensive rebound guy. But as it pertains to defense and defensive rebounding, like, DeAndre Jordan is not the same DeAndre Jordan from the Clippers days. You can tell that he's a lot slower now, and you can tell that he has to be a little bit wiser in terms of when he jumps and when he actually finishes at the rim. Like, he's not the spry chicken that he once was, right? You know, like, he's not the young buck anymore. He's older now. He's going to have to kind of not use and exert so much energy. And you see in those games, like, look, 50 to 29 for rebounding is absolutely crazy at this point. So, again, like I said, very disappointing for me defensively from the Nets. Even though they won last night, offensively, Kyrie Irving recorded 28 points, 18 in the fourth quarter. We see here 7 assists. I mean, this to me, like, you're going to have to be, historically, the Nets are going to have to be offensively great in order for this team to even be, I would say, remotely in the conversation for NBA Finals. Because if they are not historically great offensively, which we know that is probably more likely than not, I think it's easier to play better defense than it is to do historic numbers offensively. Like, look, I understand. I do understand that right now, you know, the Brooklyn Nets are a great offensive team. You know, you have guys like Kyrie, you have guys like James Harden, you have guys like Kevin Durant. And I really do get that. I really do get the fact that they are probably one of the best teams to ever do it offensively, but or maybe not the best offensive team to do it, but they're trying to get to that point. But at the same time, what is frustrating for me, and kind of I would say frustrating for a lot of you watching at home, is that, like, defensively they're giving up way too many rebounds, they're giving up way too many defensive possessions, and their pick and roll defense is absolutely killing it. And like I said before, if I'm a head coach of another team, if I'm the Lakers looking to match up in the finals against the Knicks, I'm pick and rolling with LeBron James and AD till the cows come home. Because there's no way, in my opinion, that the Brooklyn Nets are going to stop that pick and roll, because you're going to attack James Harden, you're going to attack Kyrie, you're going to attack DeAndre Jordan, maybe not so much Kevin Durant, but you're going to attack those two and DeAndre Jordan, you know, two defensive liable guards. I'm attacking that all day. If I'm LeBron James, if I'm one of those if I'm an organization that's looking to face them, like even the Celtics, even the Bucks, I'm looking at this and saying, okay, we understand that on pick and rolls, we can get away with a lot of stuff. Like, we can get Drew Holiday and Giannis on a pick and roll. It's to even do like what the Cavs did to them, which is try to set that double screen, the other guy slips, and basically you get a nice little lob pass to your guy. And that to me is just one of those things that, you know, as you get older and you kind of understand the chess and checkers of it, you know, it took me forever to learn it, to be honest with you guys. Like, I'm still trying to learn even this stuff. So give me 1 second. I just want to make sure. Just working, seeing if I am going to go back inside to practice and not inside. We're kind of still waiting on some confirmation for that. So bear with me, guys. But yeah, I mean, defensively, and you know, I know this took a long time, and I know that this isn't probably everybody's cup of tea. But the reason why I wanted to point this out, the reason why I broke down the film, and as you guys can see, like, I talk about it, and why I'm so heavily invested, and why I want to be a videographer for the NBA, or, you know, for a college team, or whoever will really accept me, and, you know, kind of want to work my way up from it, is because I think it's really important to look at film so you can study your habits. And you see here that right now the Brooklyn Nets have really bad habits as it pertains to what they are able to do as it pertains to the defensive side, because they really need to work on that, because I think that it's going to be hard to be historically great when it can be easier to just work on your defense. And again, that's up for the Nets to decide whether or not they want to work on it, because like I said, I think that they could be a decent team in the NBA Finals, but if that defense isn't sorted out, it's just going to be trouble. And you already gave up so much talent, you gave up so much things, and now they're looking to get JaVale McGee. And, you know, is JaVale McGee going to make that much of a difference? He might, but he also might not. And that's something that the Nets are going to have to learn and deal with as it pertains to how they're going to continue to grow and develop. Because like I said, there's chances and times where I think the Nets give up way too many boards, and that's the reason why the Cavaliers were able to win their games. I mean, look at the LA Lakers right now. I think they're first in overall, not only conference, but also in the NBA. And you're seeing like those extra possessions that Caruso and Montrez and Anthony Davis at times give you because they're able to get those offensive rebounds. I mean, they're fifth. Like, that's really good for a historically great team. 3-pointers allowed, they're second in the league. Field goal percentage allowed is 10. Blocks is 3. Opponent field goal percentage is 5. I mean, this team right now, like, you're telling me with all those defensive stats from the LA Lakers that the Nets have even a chance? Not even close. And this is stuff that you won't get on ESPN. This is stuff that you won't get on Fox Sports 1. They won't go over the defense. They'll go over, like, I don't, we see here that Kyrie Irving and James Harden play bad defense. But they don't tell you the other stuff, like I'm telling you right here. And this is the reason why I want you guys to maybe not even watch my content, because I'm not even the best at it. There's so many guys like Half Court Hoops or RBI Breakthrough, I think is his name. I watched some of his stuff. He does a great breakdown. He does a great job of breaking everything down. But if you are really a basketball fan, and I really beg of you guys to really start looking at these guys, to really start looking at my content and start, realizing, like, look, ESPN, Fox Sports 1, they're not going to give you this analytical stuff like we are here on YouTube. Independent channels are going to do it for you because we understand that as basketball aficionados, as people that love the game, or even head coaches that just want to do some YouTube stuff, like, this to me is really important because it really tells the whole picture of what the Brooklyn Nets are, what they need to do to improve in order to become like an all-time great team, or not even all-time great, to actually just get to the NBA Finals. And so at the end of the day, we'll see if they're able to do it. Again, I think that it's going to be tough for them to do it. If they do it, I still think they're losing in 5 games because, look, right now the Lakers are messing around on offense, and once they realize that it's time to get serious, all these defensive stats that they have right now that are able to keep them close in these games, this is going to be, they're going to put their foots into people. So, this is going to be a situation where if we look at everything, we're going to see a tremendous growth and aspiration from the Lakers, and they're going to win their second championship from the LeBron era, just because we know at this point that the Nets offensively are good, but defensively they're absolutely horrendous. But again, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of the Brooklyn Nets defense? What did you make of my breakdown? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? And if you are a coach yourself, or you're someone that is really into basketball analytics or looking at film, let me know what I could have done better in that analysis, and let you guys kind of critique my film study and let you know what I think of it as it pertains to me. Because again, I'm trying to vie for one of those videography jobs where I am able to help the coach dissect the film, cut up the film so the players have it for them to watch. Like I said, let me know in the comment section down below. But let's move on to another story here, and this to me is one that is really frustrating. Then this is a story by Aaron Kellenstrass. And the story goes like this. What is Stan Van Gundy going to do with Lonzo Ball? So we know that Lonzo Ball didn't do too much for the New Orleans Pelicans against the Jazz, but fans should be used to this by now. Stop me if you heard this one. Lonzo walks up the ball up the court. He crosses half court, immediately passes to Steven Adams, who hands it off to Williamson as Lonzo stands at the three-point line waiting for a kick out. Sound familiar? That is exactly how Stan Van Gundy used Lonzo Ball against the Utah Jazz. If you don't know any better, you would have thought J.J. Redick was out there, lights-out shooter, whose job was to stand around and watch everybody play. The offense was completely stagnant with no movement, no cutters, no anything. Just 4 guys standing around watching the other guy dribble. If you're old enough to see Teen Wolf, you're familiar with the offense, and I have to expect Lonzo to be eating an apple at the corner as he watched Brandon Ingram and Zion dribble the ball. Is this the best that Stan Gundy can come up with? And then the article again goes on to what it says, talking about Lonzo Ball's role. Look, Lonzo has to take some of the blame. He's playing flat, uninspired basketball and looks miserable doing it. He has been more aggressive looking for a shot inside the three-point line as he did in the third quarter against the Jazz on a nice take to the rim. The problem was that was his only take, and the rest of the game it looked like a three-point line was force field that couldn't be penetrated. Stan Van Gundy has to get more motion offense in with Lonzo with the ball, so that he can take advantage of his passing. Right now, Lonzo is just standing around the perimeter waiting for kickouts when he should be penetrating, looking for cutters, and running a pick and roll. Lonzo shot 5 3-pointers against the Utah Jazz before he even attempted a 2, and he's missed all of them. By my count, he ran a pick and roll with Zion Williamson exactly once in the half court, which led to an easy bucket. The Pelicans' offense has been terrible of late, mostly because they're playing too much isolation ball with Ingram and not utilizing any of their guards. If Lonzo is not going to be more than a stand-around shooter, then he needs to go, as he's not helping the team, and that is exactly 100% right, and I'm going to stop reading the article there because this guy gets it. Because I'm assuming he's a Pelicans fan because it is the fan-sided Pelicans page. He's absolutely right. And I really should have brought film for this, but let's look at Lonzo Ball's stats really quick. If I can... So we look at his stats really quick for the season and kind of go to Basketball Reference. I mean, this to me is probably one of his worst years, and he's shooting absolutely terrible from all perspective, man. It is absolutely frustrating as a Lonzo Ball. If you want to call me a stan, call me a stan. If you just want to call me a Lonzo Ball apologist, you can call me that. I really don't care at this point. What I do care about is the fact that this guy is getting screwed over by his head coach. The fact that Lonzo Ball has now turned into basically JJ Redick, but without JJ Redick shooting. Like, look, I understand that Lonzo Ball is never going to be... what you drafted him number 2 overall for, I get it. I don't think he's ever going to live up to that because, to be honest with you, I think he's more of a Jason Kidd than anything else. But at the same time, what I would say is frustrating for me, and he's only played in 12 games so far, is the fact that he's obviously not welcomed in New Orleans because the way that he's playing, the way that he's shooting the rock, it's terrible. 29% from the field is god-awful, and that has a lot to do with him as well. Let me see if I can go to, just go to regular YouTube and just kind of look up just Lonzo Ball stats really quick. There's my channel. First, let me see if I can look first the Jazz. 2 threes. He kind of played bad, so I think it'd be, no, not this one. Let's look at this and see, like, shout out to Z Highlights as well. Let's kind of watch this really quick. And we'll watch Lonzo Ball really quick. I mean, we see here Lonzo Ball, he tells him where to go. Good defensive reads. Whoops, I forgot we're still on that, like, half speed. Let's go to normal really quick. And we kind of look at it here, right? Lonzo Ball with the ball in his hands. Basically an easy... That, to me, is how you use Lonzo Ball. I mean, look at that. Ball in his hands, able to move it up the court, gets it to Zion, and those are easy baskets. Again, Lonzo Ball on a pick and roll. Easy. Basket. I don't understand what's so hard about this at all. I really don't understand what's hard about this. You see Lonzo Ball dunking it. Like, I wish we could watch the whole game because this to me is like, look how much better Lonzo Ball is when he has the ball in his hand. And he's actually being useful in terms of actually doing something with the rock instead of being told to be stand still in the corner. I mean, I wish we could look at kind of Lonzo Ball's stats for this season, like not just like through half court or through Basketball Reference, but I wish we could kind of look at kind of like the shooting charts and everything like that because that'll honestly tell the story of Lonzo Ball at this point. You know, we got 5 trade rumors for Lonzo Ball. I mean, I want to see if we can find, like... I'm not sure if they'll let me see, like, the shooting chart or not, but it's one of those things, like, we kind of see here. Let me see here, stats. But I want, like, I really do want... I really do want the stats because it would honestly tell the whole story about Lonzo. I mean, let's even just look at Pelicans highlights. I mean, let's look at the Pelicans versus Jazz last night. Without looking at NBA, I think it'd probably have to be this one. Again, let's look at the offensive possession from. Again, obviously that play ran through really quickly, so we can't really like judge it. Obviously, again, Lonzo playing a little flat-footed. Again, you're gonna get cooked every time if you play flat-footed. There's some games where he does play a little bit uninspired, and it is frustrating as a Lonzo Ball fan. I mean, let's look at this really quick. Hopefully, it'll show like the full highlight, but I don't know if it will. Again, kick out to Lonzo, shoots it, makes it. And I really want to show you guys without like the fast breaks and stuff like that. I mean, this is what? 3 days ago, January 21st, when this happened. Also, shout out to MLG Highlights for this video. I want to show more here. Again, Lonzo Ball, I will tell you this till the cows come home. Lonzo Ball is not good in this situation as a stand-up shooter. Like, this is not what he should be doing. I understand, like, look, you have Zion, you have Brandon Ingram, and I do get that those two guys are probably going to take up most of the dribbles than anybody else. But this to me is unacceptable. Look at this. Why is Lonzo Ball not running pick and rolls with Steven Adams, with Zion, with Brandon Ingram? Like, that is what Stan Van Gundy should be using Lonzo for. I mean, it is frustrating to me that we see here that Zion knocks the shot down. And we see here, obviously, Lonzo's going to be a team player. But I think the ball should be in Lonzo's hands. I mean, I understand you're trying to, move it up the court, get it to Brandon Ingram, and let him kind of go to work, right? Again, we're going to see Lonzo Ball kind of be a stand-up shooter, not really doing too much. And we see here that Rudy Gobert gets a block on Steven Adams. I mean, Steven Adams is way past his prime, man. I'm sorry. I think that was probably not the best pickup they could have had. Not saying that he's a bad player, but I don't know if I agree with the pickup. I think they could have done with someone. See, what I think Lonzo and all of them need are just young players so they can run up and down the court. Why are we now sort of like letting Steven Adams like basically, kind of like shrug his way down the court, basically, kind of lumbering down with the, big stomps and everything like that? No, this team should have a young center. Maybe you play, who'd they get? The kid from Texas, and I can't remember his name now. But they should use him. I mean, I don't understand like why at this point, in my opinion. Why are the Pelicans playing so bad offensively? Like, it makes no sense. Like, you have basically very talented players. You have Brandon Ingram who can score on a dime. You have Lonzo Ball who can assist like no other. And the offense just struggles for the Pelicans. I really don't get it. Like, look at this. Now Lonzo's just going to kind of chill. You see here that Zion and Brandon Ingram are going to basically do a little 1-2 combo with each other. And basically you take out the other players. I'm not saying that every player has to get involved in the game, but you do need every single play in order to make sure that they're, satisfied, and that you're basically not seeing Lonzo being put in the corner. You see here, great pass, great dish and find to Brandon Ingram, and that is how you keep moving the basketball. You move it. But right now, we're seeing that Lonzo's just stagnant in the corner, basically waiting for him to shoot. And obviously, this is just the highlights. And I'm pointing all this stuff out in the highlights, not even pointing it out in the lowlights. And I don't know if I can find lowlights of it. But again, this is probably one of Lonzo's worst careers ever. And I guess it is frustrating for me that Lonzo right now is not playing to the best of his ability, and not even playing to an ability that I would say warrants... I would say warrants, like, honestly, a trade. I think Lonzo needs a new situation. I would say it is frustrating for me, the fact that Lonzo is basically getting screwed over, in my opinion. I really do think he's getting screwed over because I think he is so much better than what he's put out there on the court. Obviously, I would say 45% of it has to be on him because he needs to do a better job of having a high motor. I just feel like there's sometimes where the motor is a question mark for me. Especially on the defensive end. I want my guys defensively to be like dogs, get up in the guy, play defense on him, and get it going. But ultimately, I'm just not seeing that from Lonzo. And so, again, it is one of those situations where I wish that, Lonzo would have a little bit more dog in him. And we are going to talk about dogs in a second, kind of a segue into our next topic. But, again, just to kind of reiterate with Lonzo, I think he's a good player. But right now, Stan Van Gundy has him playing in probably the worst offense I think I've ever seen in my life. So again, they need to do something with this offense and do it something quick, because right now, Lonzo's value and basically his money is going down the drain with the way that these guys play. But let's move on to our next story, which of course has to do with the Miami Heat. Let me search this up. And we see here the Miami Heat to use Corona sniffing dogs to screen fans at games. And let's see here, dismiss, exit out of here. So the Miami Heat are bringing back some fans with the help from some dogs. The Heat will use coronavirus sniffing dogs at the American Airlines Arena to screen fans who want to attend their games. They have been working on a plan for months. Yeah, this is for real. I don't know how a dog can sniff it out, but apparently the Miami Heat have decided that they have found the perfect animal to discover whether or not a person has the virus or not. Oh, got another postponed game. But let's see here. They've been working. The highly trained dogs have been in place for some games this season, where the team has allowed a handful of guests, mostly friends and family of players and staff. Starting this week, limited number of ticket holders will be able to seat as well, providing they get past the dogs first. If you think about it, detection dogs are not new, said Matthew Huffine, the Heat executive vice president for the business strategy. You see them in airports. They've been used in mission-critical situations by police, the military. We've used them for arenas for detect explosives. The first Heat game with ticket holders is set for Thursday against the Clippers. Monday is the first day of the season. Ticket holders will be able to start securing their seats. The Heat have sold out 451 consecutive games, the sixth longest streak in NBA history. Sellouts aren't obviously happening this year, but the Heat will keep attendance under 2,000 for now, or at least 10% of the arena's typical capacity. Please note that seating will be very limited. Obviously, we know that. And then we see here, they'll be brought to the screening arena, or the screening area, and the dogs and the detection dogs will walk past. If a dog keeps going, the fan is cleared. If the dog sits, there's a sign. It detects the virus, and the fan will be denied entry. I really don't know, in my opinion. Like, I don't know where the study of this is. Maybe if we click on here. I don't know if this will tell us. Nope, that will not tell us. That's just basically anything with that. Let me look this up really quick, because this to me is probably... Alrighty, so this is according to TMZ. And I'll just kind of read it here. So basically, this is what the article says. And this, of course, again, this is obviously listen to your doctor when it comes to this stuff. I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube or anything like that. Listen to your doctor. Listen to the CDC, the WHO, whatever. But listen to your doctor first and foremost. Like, your doctor should tell you what's going on with the situation. Learn, obviously get your information from them. But this is what TMZ, and of course getting it from a university doctor, says. Dogs are being trained at Florida International University, and Dr. DeEtta Mills, who is leading the program, joined us Monday TMZ Live to explain how canines get up to snuff. The Good Doc says that the program is familiar to how dogs learn to detect bombs and drugs instead of explosives and contraband. Trainers use discarded face masks from COVID-positive patients. The NBA Miami Heat are about to start using corona sniffing dogs to screen fans at the American Airlines Arena, and Dr. Mills thinks that our airlines and airports could adopt the same process too. Virus sniffing dogs are already being used to detect COVID, the vaccine or the pandemic in Chile, United Arab Emirates, and Finland. Researchers say that highly trained canines detect disease with almost 100% accuracy. Dr. Mills also tells us how each dog will be trained to alert for COVID, bombs, drugs at the airport. And I don't know, man. I don't know if I believe this. And again, this is just coming from my perspective, from what I think. I don't know whether or not a dog can truly know whether or not you have it. And to be honest with you, if it, this is getting to a point where I don't know if I really like this at all. I mean, what are we now going to just have dogs sniff every time? I mean, look, I understand, like, contraband and things that are actually have like a detectable smell, but I don't know if I can necessarily think that a dog from sniffing a positive face mask from a positive patient, like, I understand they have a great nose. I'm not trying to deny the science here, but I don't know if that's necessarily like, and they say like with almost 100% accuracy. I mean, obviously almost is kind of like a very gimmicky thing to say. So I don't know. And of course, this is going to be kind of one of our last stories. And so this to me is just kind of one of those things. Again, I don't necessarily think that this is, again, we could talk about this, the virus and the crisis and all that stuff like that. But, a study released that showed in July showed that German dogs were able to detect coronavirus with incredible accuracy. And according to the study, 8 dogs from Germany's armed forces sniffed the saliva of more than 1,000 people, both healthy and infected, identifying the virus with a 94% success rate. I mean, that's still 94%. I mean, what if, I don't know. I understand that these dogs have the ability to do it. I understand that the dogs are smart. Like, I get that. But at the same time, I don't necessarily know if that's really the case. And I get it. I get that people are going to be hesitant on this. And I don't know if I really like the idea of that. I understand you got to do it for the bombs. You got to do it for contraband. You got to do it for other stuff like that. But I don't know if I necessarily will believe that they're able to sniff that out. I really don't. And again, listen to your doctor. Listen to the health experts, because I really don't know. And, this is the first time we've ever heard of it. And I understand that the Miami Heat are trying to do something to make sure that everybody stays safe. Obviously, Florida is one of the highest places, again, with California, Texas. Every big city at this point has a huge, I would say, spike. But at the same time, I'm not necessarily convinced about this at all. Like, I understand that you got to do what you got to do, but I don't know if, I mean, what happens? They sniff you and they're like, sorry, because the dog sniffed you, you could potentially go home. I mean, like, what's that about? You know what I'm saying? Like, basically a dog will determine whether or not you get into a game or not. And, you spend the money. Like, I'm hoping that they refund the tickets. What happens if they're, let's say a dog sniffs, they're like, oh, you might be positive. And then they go to a test and they say, no, I'm not. I mean, what happens then? And that to me is kind of one of the big things about this whole situation. Again, listen to your doctors. I'm not trying to tell you which way or not, but I do find it a little confusing, in my opinion, as to what these dogs are really doing. People rather be tested by dogs versus humans versus other humans taking temperature. I mean, I get that, Logan, but at the same time, I don't necessarily buy that these dogs are like, again, I understand that they're that stubborn. But again, like, it doesn't matter if those guys are stubborn. They're still, like, if you're not wearing a mask, if you're not doing any of that stuff, you're kicked out. They're not going to be like, oh, well, we're going to kind of try and leave. No, they're going to kick you out if you're not wearing a mask or anything like that. The NBA, the NFL, I think the NFL, they have to watch out for that a little bit. But especially the NBA, when you're inside, you're around people. I think the NBA is going to handle that. They're going to have a security force team walk up and down those aisles, making sure that everybody wears their mask. But I don't necessarily think a dog is necessarily the answer here. Obviously, if you feel the symptoms, you stay home. But if you don't, I think you're fine. But again, people, I know people that have gone to work with the flu before. And, it's just one of those things that you need to make sure that you are healthy when you're going out to places, or when you are going into a place where there's multiple people, older people, older population, you got to do a better job. And so I get that, but at the same time, I'm just not sure if these dogs are necessarily, like, I get, dogs, they can detect different things. I get that. This article is talking about, blood sugar, certain cancers and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not necessarily convinced. I think I need a little bit more studies than just 8 dogs. Like, and do they have to be a certain breed of dog? You know what I'm saying? What's the criteria here? Like, can any dog sniff it, or is it just like the German Shepherds or whatever type of dogs they used in this study? Like, that to me is what I want to know. Like, are the Miami Heat going to now buy like 20,000 German Shepherds to come in and sniff? Like, at the end of the day, if you're sick, if you feel sick, stay home. That should be that should be the end of the discussion right there. If you are sick, stay home. But again, that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of this sort of situation? Again, I'm not really convinced about that, but at the end of the day, people have to stay healthy. So, if you have to get sniffed by a dog, you gotta get sniffed by a dog. But really quick, let's make sure that there's no other NBA news. We see games have tipped off already. I don't think there's really that much news and rumors. Other than, of course, the NBA and the Union talking about an all-star game again. They want to do that from last year. It would be cool. Obviously, we're getting to the point where, Kobe's death, the anniversary of it, unfortunate, to be honest with you. I think if I had to say one thing, about Kobe's death, which I believe, I'm not sure if it was this year to this day, like today, or was it yesterday, or I believe it actually was today. Like, technically it was today. I think what is really kind of frustrating for me, or maybe not frustrating, but definitely sad, is that, like, the daughter had so much, like, I feel like she was going to be really good in the WNBA or whatever, if she went overseas or whatever she did with her career. I think her dad, and hopefully the older sister, who I don't think she's really into sports, but I hope the older sister, I think she probably does have the same work ethic as her dad. But the one thing I would hope and pray for these people, for these kids, and especially the wife, is just making sure that they're taken care of. And I know that they will be financially, but more so emotionally at this point. I hope that anybody that's a Kobe fan, I hope that anybody that's a fan, or maybe if you're not a fan of Kobe Bryant, at least send some positive vibes their way. As much as I am a Celtics fan, I still admire Kobe. I still admire his work ethic. It's something that I try to develop and try to work on for myself. It sucks that there's no Black Mamba uniforms for Monday. But hopefully they will have some sort of, I would say, thing to honor him. And the one thing I will say too, is that I hope that they release Mamba jerseys, but to the point where they're able to make a ton of them so everybody has access to them. I still think to this day, I really hated the fact that what they did for the Mamba jerseys, especially for the Kobe Bryant one, which is the 8 and the 24 on the back. To be honest with you, I really hate that jersey is so limited and so hard to find and worth $500 in the resale market. That to me, like, I get the shoes, even though I'm still irked about it, even though I do have a pair. Was able to get the Grinches, and they were sold out. They're now worth like $500-$600 now. At least I think they're $500-$600. They might be still $400. I'll have to look on StockX. Let's look on StockX right now. Oops. And look at how much those sneakers are going for. Let's look at the Grinches, and we'll look at the 2020 Grinches to kind of be more precise, right? $419. So these are kind of a little bit more, I would say, they're not as high as they once were. No, I'm not shoe shopping. I'm just showing you like the prices and stuff like that. I mean, we can kind of see here, and I'll show you guys the Grinches from 2010. I believe these are still worth like $1,000. Oh, wow. The value dropped in these really quick. Still expensive, right? Look how much it is for basically 11.5, which I think is very average for basketball players. Like $15,000 for this shoe. I think what is frustrating for me as someone that, again, I'm not like the biggest Kobe fan. I'm more of a LeBron fan, and I do actually like wearing Kobe shoes rather than LeBron shoes. The only one I really liked was the 15s and the 16s. I think those are my favorite LeBron shoes. But as it pertains to, like I said, the Kobe's, and this is the one that really, and look how much this City Edition jersey is worth. $503. The price has gone down a little bit because they did have a bit of a restock. But again, I wear a medium, $644 for this jersey. To be honest with you, Nike, the one thing I ask you is to basically mass produce these jerseys. Whether it's LeBron's, whether it's Kobe's number, I don't care what number it is, but I think that you do need to mass produce these jerseys because it is, I would say, frustrating to me that these jerseys are worth $600 resale when they're really worth $120. And again, it is, I would say it is frustrating. Price on that jersey, straight cheese. Yeah, Logan, you're right. It is straight cheese. It is frustrating. And, as we talk about the anniversary of Kobe Bryant dying, I think that in my opinion, Nike needs to do a better job of when it comes to the jerseys, when it comes to the stuff that, we try to remember Kobe Bryant by it. Look at the retail at the bottom here. 100, whoops, I think, let me move here really quick. See, $120. I think the Nike needs to do a better job of releasing these jerseys. I understand that right now we're in a pandemic and I get that, but once we're kind of past the pandemic, once we're kind of in a situation where we can start, buying things again, we could start actually, we can start trying to get past this whole situation. I still think that those jerseys should come down in price hella quick because like I said, it is frustrating for me to see that is a situation. Let me just make sure the Pelicans game is off. So let me make sure I don't have Brandon Ingram playing tonight. Oh no. Okay, cool. We don't have him playing tonight. Perfect. I didn't want him to play tonight. But yeah, just kind of going back to what I was saying. Nike needs to do a better job. Release these jerseys, mass produce them, make them available to everybody. I think everybody would be willing to pay $120 for a Mamba jersey. Maybe it might be too much for some people. Some people might think that's a lot. But, I think that if you were able to make it a price that's reasonable, but also mass produced, I think that would be much better. I understand that you won't get I don't even know what the benefit is of making this jersey limited other than helping the resale market. Because like I said, it is frustrating that the average price of this jersey is $516. And so I hope that Nike's able to do something. And again, we still can't process this stuff as it pertains to as it pertains to all this sort of situation. But at the end of the day, I hope that we can remember Kobe Bryant for the work ethic and the determination. Yo, what's up, Sean? I think this is kind of we're almost at the end of this stream, but basically we're just kind of remembering Kobe Bryant at this point. Again, as much as I am a Celtics fan, it is sad to see that Kobe Bryant has, it still doesn't feel real to me that he died. And I don't know if for you guys in the chat or for anybody rewatching this live stream, I really don't know if it feels real. But unfortunately, that is the reality of Kobe Bryant right now, is that he's not here in this world. And again, it was like, I remember me and my girlfriend were eating sushi at a restaurant, and then all of a sudden, boom, breaking news, Kobe Bryant dies in a helicopter crash. And I didn't want to believe it. I thought it was fake. And then ultimately it came true. Something that I think a lot of us didn't want to accept the reality of. And so I hope that, he's in a better place right now. I hope his daughter's in a better place. It sucks. Like I said, it sucks to see that she never really got the opportunity of, trying to live out her life the way that I'm sure Kobe and Vanessa wanted her to, and her sisters, of course, as well. So I think with that, guys, I really want to appreciate each and every one of you in the chat. I really appreciate everything that's going on here. Hopefully you guys will have a great day. Again, guys, if you are interested, please remember to hit that like button. Also remember to hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel. Again, we talked about here the Brooklyn Nets defense. I broke it down. If you guys are interested, it's at the beginning. So again, hopefully you guys are enjoying the rest of your day. We also talked about Lonzo Ball. We talked about the trade rumors for the Brooklyn Nets as they could potentially get JaVale McGee. Again, guys, like I said, please remember to hit that like button. Also remember to hit the subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next video. Peace.